Episode 3 begins with a police siege being conducted on a man. Stacy is there with her many armed units and helicopter as well. The man is holding a gun and his boss approaches the site to help the cops. Instead he tells him to do as he pleases and is kicked off the property. After looking out the window he sees no way out, so instead he looks at the ground and activates the explosives which blows up the building. Elsewhere, Dwight is hanging out at his local coffee shop again. As he is drinking his coffee he turns his head and to his surprise sees the same horse roaming the streets from the previous episode. The barista then also looks at the horse and says she's seen it before. We finally know that Dwight isn't seeing things or going crazy. He continues practice driving for his upcoming test and makes his way to Bodie's shop. There seems to be a party that is ongoing and Dwight walks to the back of the property and sees Bodie sitting there. Someone passes out as Dwight looks and trips out what the hell these kids are doing. It seems they are inhaling balloons and looks at Bodie to explain and the answer was they are doing nitrous oxide. Later that night Dwight goes to speak to Mitch at the bar. He tells him that using the cover of the bar they could bring 30 tanks of nitrous oxide in. Mitch agrees and goes to order the tanks. The next day is the day of reckoning. Dwight gets into his Navigator to go for the driving test. But they are being watched by the same paranoid man from the previous episodes. The instructor comes out and gets into the car. The test begins and Dwight is just cruising through the course. The instructor likes Dwight and says the kids these days are annoying to deal with. They approach a set of lights. A person next to them with a balaclava pulls out a gun as Dwight gets under cover and gets shot at repeatedly. Dwight does not care as he is an OG and follows the assassin in the middle of a driving test. He puts the pedal down and manages to go around to cut the car off at an intersection. He sees the car and rams right into it. The instructor was squealing like a bitch and Dwight tells him to
shut the fuck up.
He puts his head back down and both cars are still drivable and so he begins chasing again. The car in front pulls in between a truck and car and when Dwight goes to do it the gap closes in and the driver pulls away. He sees a partial plate and uses the blood of the instructor to write the letters down. Cops immediately arrive on the scene and Dwight tells the instructor not to say a word as they are taken back to the station. At the station Dwight plays the dumb card. He says it was a random attack and he has no clue why it happened. Elsewhere, the man that shot at Dwight is seen exiting his car. He puts fuel and uses a match to set fire to it and leave no evidence behind. Dwight is hanging out at the station as Stacy walks into the room. She pretty much jumps at the occasion to see Dwight. She tells him that he is free to leave. He thanks her and walks out of the station. The following day, Dwight is hanging out in his room when he decides to give Chicky a call. He was not happy and suspects that Vincent set the shooting up. Chicky assures him that Vincent would not have done anything as they have an agreement with one another. Dwight doesn't believe him and ends the call. Meanwhile, at the FBI headquarters, Stacy and her team are looking into the bombing earlier that day and know that the boss, Colin Waltrip, is the mastermind and is arming the local bikers up. The man has done jail time and has many murder charges under his belt. His right-hand man, or woman for that matter is Roxy. They are a dangerous gang and the FBI is scared of them. At the hospital, the driving instructor is sitting in his bed minding his business when Dwight comes in. The man is paranoid from Dwight but holds it together. Dwight gives him an envelope. The man opens it and trips out. There is $10K in there and Dwight tells him that is his compensation for giving him a pass. He gives him a note that has number plates on it and tells him to call up his friends and get him a location or ID of that car. Dwight also gives out more money to Tyson and tells him to buy another car. He also tells him that if he stays as the driver then it's his choice and on him if anyone close gets injured. Stacy goes back to the site of the explosion. She starts looking for clues into what type of explosives or weapons the man had. She instead sees a lonely dog scared and wandering around. She feels bad for it and opens up her car door, deciding to keep the dog. She drives off the property and goes back home. Dwight gets lucky as the instructor found him the location for the car. He has a look and gets even luckier. The idiot that put fire to the car had the windows closed and that doesn't work. He starts finding items and gets Tyson to look them up. He finds a weird item that has R7 on it. It was a local horse ranch a few kilometers away. Dwight takes Tyson home and goes alone. He gets down and is instructed that the manager is at the back. He goes to the back and sees a woman riding a horse. She comes off it and walks towards Dwight. He greets her and decides to make a lie and say he is a private investigator. That one of his investigations led him here and he would like to ask around. She tells him unless he has a warrant he can pretty much fuck off. He sits in his car and stakes out the ranch. He waits till late at night, and sees a car pulling out. He believes this is the shooter and turns his car on and starts to follow him. The driver then pulls into a quiet street. The man pulls his car into a driveway as Dwight stops his car on the other side of the road. He has a gun in the holster and is ready for anything. He looks back and sees the man hugging and playing with his kids. Dwight feels bad for the moment and lets him be. Thank you for sticking around. Until next time.